MMA, or mixed martial arts for the noobs, is one of the most popular sports today, both in views and in participation. The sport is basically where two fighters choose a fighting style to try and defeat their opponent with and eventually become the champions of their promotions. They can use any fighting style of their choice, such as boxing, Muay Thai, Jiu-Jitsu, Judo, basically anything to beat their opponent. And when it comes to discussing how MMA became so popular, the first thing that comes to most people's minds is the UFC, or Ultimate Fighting Championship. Starting in the early 90s, the UFC has helped MMA become more mainstream and has generated, in the last few years alone, hundreds of millions of dollars. The UFC is one of the biggest sports promotion ever, and today one of the biggest MMA promotion in the West. That's right, because 8,662 miles away, there is a new challenger that has entered the MMA cage and has already taken Asia by storm, and they are called One Championship. Compared to the UFC, One Championship is very young. In fact, it's only 9 years old, but within those 9 years, One Championship has already raised $250 million, which is almost unheard of for startups that size and at that stage, is worth $1 billion as of 2019, has a global reach of 2.7 billion people around the world, and has already amassed billions of views online and in their pay-per-views. But how did One Championship get so popular? How did it go from a dream by a man in Thailand who used to be a banker to Asia's biggest sports media property? For that, we're going to do my favorite rule of three. In this case, we're going to look at the history of One Championship, which I know in 9 years how much history there can be, but there is some history there. The present on how it became so popular and why it is so popular today, and the future of One Championship and where I believe it goes from here. And so, we're going to start off with the founder of One Championship, Mr. Chatri. Oh boy, I will not be able to say that surname. I am so sorry. I'm going to butcher it. But I'm going to say it now, and I'll keep referring to him as his first name. So, starting again, we're going to go to the founder of One Championship, Mr. Chatri Sitjeong, Mr. Chatri Sitjeong, and how he went from poverty to Wall Street and then becoming the owner of Asia's biggest global sports media property, One Championship. Oh boy, I'm going to get killed for that. Thai native Chatri was passionate about martial arts from a very young age, and he used Muay Thai as a way of life. However, growing up with a single mother and his brothers and sisters, Chatri had to use education to lift his family out of poverty. And he managed to do so, Chatri going to Harvard and then went on to have a successful career in Wall Street. But he could not shake his passion for martial arts. And at the tender age of 39, he decided to drop it all, move to Singapore and start One Championship, or at the time as he called it, One FC. His mission was to celebrate Asia's oldest and greatest treasure, martial arts, celebrate its authenticity and its values, which he labeled it as integrity, humility, honor, respect, courage, discipline, and passion. Seriously, we need to come up with like an abbreviation or something for those values because I can't keep saying them over and over again. But I digress. Things weren't so great for One Championship in the first 3 years. Okay, that's an understatement. Things were pretty bad for One Championship in the first 3 years. I'm talking no one, I mean absolutely no one, wanted to touch One Championship. TV stations showing the fights? Nope. Companies interested in sponsoring? Nope. Government allowing One Championship to hold events in their countries? Nope. There were no TV ratings and there was hardly any attendees. From 2011 to 2014, things were bad for One Championship. I'm sorry, Chatri, it's true. I know I got your last name wrong, but still, I'm not really trying to put you down here. Look at this Google trend. There was hardly anything going on for One Championship at the time. And even yourself has said there was zero traction for One Championship in the early years. So don't give me those judging eyes, Chatri. I'm just spitting out facts. But there's also the fact that in 2014, things took a massive turn for One Championship. And when I mean massive turn, I mean a complete 180. Even Chatri himself claimed that he was lucky that there was this cultural shift of social media being consumed more on mobile technology, which allowed One Championship to turn its corner. He claimed millennials loved short-form, exciting, edge of the seat content. Which, by the way, reminds me guys, don't forget to follow us on our Instagram and TikTok. I can't promise edge of the seat content, but I can promise cool Pokemon cards and comic strips. Anyways, back to One Championship, its content was ideal for it to be in short form that could be spread on social media. There could be knockouts in a couple of seconds, great moments in matches, videos of the fighters training or in their hometown, and even the matches themselves can be shortened up for a 2-minute video. It was a lightning in a bottle situation for Chatri in One Championship. The content was easily accessible and they could go viral immediately. In 2014, One Championship started the year with 300,000 views and they ended the year with 5 billion views. And with their content being free, their popularity grew rapidly. They have gathered a lot of attention within the Asian sports and MMA industries and definitely on their way to becoming Asia's biggest sports media property. So there you go Chatri, no need to be worried. We didn't forget how you managed to make One Championship so successful. And we're going to look at how you managed to maintain that success today and a few squabbles you've had with a certain other MMA promotion. Today, One Championship has a global potential reach of 2.6 billion views from across 140 countries. And while the UFC controls an 80% market share in the Western Hemisphere, One Championship controls a 90% market share in the Eastern Hemisphere. Oh what Chatri, what? You didn't want me to make a comparison between One Championship and the UFC? That is practically impossible in a video about One Championship. Especially with the amount of bitching between yourself and Dana White over the last couple of years. One Championship has made it very clear that they want to give a different presentation of MMA as to the one that's given by the UFC. The UFC is widely credited for codifying the sport of MMA and packaging it for a mainstream audience. However, One Championship wasn't so keen on the idea of using trash talking and bravado to sell tickets and build hype for their events. For One Championship, it was about creating hometown heroes that young people can look up to, athletes where they can put their posters up on their bedroom walls, and role models that they can aspire to be like. A great example of this is Onlung Ensang, who is also known as the Burmese Python. Onlung Ensang is the current one middleweight world champion and the current one light heavyweight world champion. And thanks to his performances for One Championship, he is today one of the most recognizable fighters in all of MMA and has become a national hero in his home country of Myanmar. Other success stories include siblings Angel Lee and Christian Lee, who have both at a very young age have already achieved stardom in One Championship. Angel Lee especially is the current One Women's Atomweight champion and is one of the most popular fighters in the roster for One Championship and in MMA today. Whilst Christian, who is just 22 years old, is the current One Championship lightweight world champion and lightweight world Grand Prix champion. Even Western fighters have started to take notice of the rising popularity of One Championship. Past MMA fighters and UFC champions such as Eddie Alvarez and Demetrius Johnson have all made a jump to One Championship and have brought One Championship to Western eyes. Both fighters have praised the value of One Championship and the impact it has in the MMA world. Eddie Alvarez in particular has commended on One Championship's approach, saying, "One will smash the stigma of undeserved title shots, and you can't get in the way of that when you do a Grand Prix. The best man wins and the best man goes on. That's how every sport on earth works. The best play the best and they go to a playoff. Whoever wins the playoff goes to the Super Bowl and they win the Super Bowl. Nobody goes to the Super Bowl just because they have a large following. They have to win. The Grand Prix cuts out all the fat and puts integrity back into the sport." Wow, that is some praise for One Championship from one of the best fighters in the world. But you can't deny there has been some shots fired there to the UFC. And the two promotions have had some tensions boiling over the last couple of years. Chatri has gone on record saying that the West has tainted what martial arts should be, and that One Championship has crushed the UFC in Asia. If I have strong words for the UFC, it's because they came to Singapore last year and were very disrespectful to Asia, Asians, and One Championship. That's not the best way to market yourself if you're a foreign property. We've crushed them, completely crushed them. But despite the drama, One Championship has been exceeding expectations, As of 2020, they are the 4th highest viewed sports property in the world, with 5.6 billion views at the year. Their app has been downloaded hundreds of thousands of times, with, interestingly enough, most of the downloads coming from the US, and their events are also getting high viewership. Last year in 2019, their event One A New Era, which was held in Tokyo, garnered 42 million views and is known to be One Championship's most prolific event so far. The present is looking very positive for One Championship, but for Chatri, this is only just the beginning. He states that his goal is to unite 4 billion fans over martial arts and will not rest until One Championship has 2 billion concurrent views for their events and brings back authenticity to martial arts. My only question for that, Chatri, is how do you measure authenticity? What is the gold standard of authenticity for martial arts? And what are the metrics you need to use to, oh boy, oh he's mad. Okay, let's move on. Look at the next section. Future of One Championship. Oof. So, as we're about to talk about the future of One Championship, I just want to make it clear that this is just from what I think One Championship may go or could go. There's nothing about this that's been confirmed by One Championship or anything on their likes. It's just me putting some pieces together with some factual evidence, of course. So calm yourself, Chatri. This is going to be a fun piece and one that you can take ideas from. And if you do, I'm happy to take credit through monetary fashion. Anyways, the future of One Championship, or One, is exciting and one should keep an eye on. As mentioned in the beginning of this video, the organisation was originally called One FC, but they later on changed it to One Championship. This was mainly for linguistic and cultural reasons, according to Victor Cui, who is the current CEO of One Championship. And this may be true and this may be their honest and legit intentions. However, after looking at the history of One Championship and where I think they're going, I think there's something much greater at play with what they're doing. Throughout this video, it's no secret that I made it seem that the UFC is One Championship's current direct competitor. The UFC has always established themselves as an MMA brand since its incarnation 30 years ago. One Championship, or One, has always labelled themselves as Asia's biggest sports media property. Therefore, if there was to be a long-term direct competitor for One Championship, or specifically One, that brand would not be UFC, but in my opinion, it would be a brand like Red Bull, for example. As you may have guessed in the last couple of minutes, I've been calling One Championship One, and that's because in recent statements and marketing from One Championship, they've been branding themselves as simply as just One. These constant changes to the brand is, to me, I think, a strong indication that One Championship, or One, are going to branch out of MMA and martial arts and become a brand for Asian sports in general and possibly beyond. And this is similar to what Red Bull did. For those who may not know, Red Bull was actually an energy drink to begin with. An energy drink that really came out of nowhere. I remember when I was younger and I saw these adverts. It was of these cartoon characters who were really down in the slumps and they would drink a can of Red Bull, start growing a pair of wings and start to fly away. And then the tagline was, Red Bull gives you wings, which made zero sense. But we all loved it. And whenever we drank Red Bull at school, we always used to say, Red Bull gives you wings. And yeah, no one flew away, unfortunately. But hey, that was then. But today, Red Bull is now a mammoth of a global brand and more than just an energy drink. The Red Bull brand has been in all types of ventures, such as F1, esports, extreme sports, and they even have their own football clubs. By putting their name in all these other areas and being successful at the same time, Red Bull was actually able to stay away from the beverage giants and become its own established entity within sports and food and drink, at least in the Western world. For me, it seems that One is looking to do the same model but in Asia. In 2019, One invested heavily into esports and they've already built their own esports department. With esports being so popular in Asia and growing so rapidly around the world, and the amount of investment that One has made already, they are clearly not taking this lightly and they're expanding their brand with a lot of conviction. And it would be interesting to see where else they take the One brand. I personally think that they can take it into the food and drink industry. You can have One protein shakes, One energy drinks, One healthy meals, anything that makes you a better athlete and that makes that connection between the sports industry. You're welcome to take those ideas, Chatri, but again, some of that monetary fashions for my great ideas. And let's not forget the media side. I'm not lying when I'm saying this, but But there is going to be the Singaporean apprentice, I believe, and Chatri is the guy that's looking for his next apprentice. I'm not lying, there's like a $250,000, I'm not sure it's Singaporean dollars, but there's a $250,000 prize to the next protege for Chatri. That's right. And no, I'm sadly not going to be in the show. I could probably win the show, or I could probably get fired in the first episode because I wouldn't know what I'm doing and I'll probably get his name wrong live on television. Nevertheless, I don't know if one is using the Red Bull model, or if Red Bull is their blueprint for their strategy meetings. But by dropping the championship name and calling themselves One, and saying that they're Asia's biggest sports media property and not MMA brand, and starting to invest heavily into other sports and industries, the similarities to me are clear, whether intentional or not. But for me, with the amount of investment and hard work that One is doing, I don't think they're just going to be an Asian version of a Western brand. One could potentially be its own powerhouse brand in its own right, if they play their cards right. I mean, having investment is great and all, but at the end of the day, it's about how much revenue they can make. It's about how many tickets and events they're selling out, how well the merchandise is selling, and even the other ventures of esports and the Apprentice show, how much money they will bring in. It's clear that One Championship has been a success so far, and they do have potential of being more successful in the future. And if they keep increasing the roster with more superstars and more famous athletes, and maintain focus on their other ventures, their brand will only get bigger. One thing that One Championship has done that has differentiated themselves against their competitors is their formula of heroes, values, and stories. They created these stories about heroes who used hard work and passion to go and fight for what they want in life. One Championship genre is martial arts. Its platform is humanity. It's about heroes representing their country, igniting their country people, and battling adversity. Chatri has always abided by the Olympic formula, which is to bring a positive impact for fans around the world and create new, real-life superheroes for youth everywhere. That is what helped make them stick for their audiences. And even though they still have the viral videos of the awesome knockouts, the improvements to the production of their shows, and the glamorous event setups, the story of hard work and fighting against adversity has always stayed the same. It was about how important the win was to the fighter's own story, what it means for them, for their hard work, and for their family. For these athletes, it's not about who they are fighting against, but what they are fighting for. So all the best to you, Chatri, and who knows, maybe in the future I make a video of how One's the world's largest sports media property.